What if Elon Musk's next big move isn't in space, but on water? As the Panama Canal struggles under drought restrictions and geopolitical friction, a $50 billion Nicaraguan canal project, once thought dead in the water, is making a splash again. And who better to stir the pot than Musk himself? Speculation is swirling that Musk, with his technological prowess and unpredictable ambitions, could be the key to reviving this mega project. But why would the world's richest innovator take on such a colossal challenge? And what would this mean for global shipping routes, Nicaragua's economy, and US-China relations? The answer might change the course of history forever. Join us as we reveal Elon Musk's next move. The rivalry. For over a century, the Panama Canal has served as the trusty shortcut between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, saving ships from the grueling journey around Cape Horn. But now, as the canal faces several challenges, climate-induced water shortages, capacity constraints, and geopolitical squabbles, there's a new contender whispering, or perhaps shouting its name, the Nicaraguan Canal. Nicaragua, Panama's northern neighbor, has its eyes on the prize. And not just any prize, the throne of global maritime supremacy. But is this ambitious project really up to the task? Or is it just a pipe dream fueled by big talk and even bigger money? First, some backstory. The Nicaragua Canal isn't just a pipe dream, it's an ambitious plan to create a maritime shortcut between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, much like its Panamanian counterpart. The idea? To offer an alternative route for global shipping, one that could potentially slash transit times and costs. The estimated cost? A jaw-dropping price tag of $50 billion US. For context, that's roughly the GDP of Nicaragua multiplied by 3. No big deal. But why would anyone want to build another canal when we already have a perfectly functional one in Panama? The answer lies in 2 words: opportunity and competition. Let's face it, the Panama Canal isn't exactly having its best decade. Climate change has thrown a wrench into its operations, with water shortages threatening its ability to accommodate the ever-growing fleet of global shipping. Add to that the congestion and capacity issues caused by a steady increase in demand, and you've got a canal that's starting to feel its age. But Nicaragua has an audacious plan. The idea is simple: build a bigger, better canal that can handle larger ships, reduce transit times, and offer an alternative route for global trade. In theory, this would not only ease the burden on the Panama Canal but also create competition in a market that currently has none. But this whole issue isn't just about economics, it's also about geopolitics. If you thought this was just a regional spat between 2 Central American countries, think again. The Nicaraguan Canal has caught the attention of none other than China, a global superpower with a penchant for ambitious infrastructure projects and an appetite for strategic influence. China's interest in the canal isn't exactly subtle. By backing the project, both financially and politically, China could secure a direct competitor to the US-influenced Panama Canal. For Washington, the prospect of China gaining control, or even significant influence, over a major trade artery in Central America is nothing short of a nightmare. It would shift the balance of power in global shipping and give Beijing a foothold in what has traditionally been America's backyard. And let's be honest, the US-China beef doesn't need any more seasoning. But is this Nicaraguan canal even feasible? On paper, it sounds like a game changer. In reality, it faces more hurdles than an Olympic track meet. First off, there's the sheer scale of the project. Building a canal of this magnitude would involve cutting through 170 miles of land, including Lake Nicaragua, the largest freshwater lake in Central America. Environmentalists are already clutching their pearls at the thought of the ecological damage this could cause. Then there's the funding. While $50 billion might sound like pocket change to someone like Elon Musk, it's an astronomical sum for Nicaragua. And let's not forget about public opinion. Many Nicaraguans are skeptical of the project, questioning whether it will actually benefit their country or simply line the pockets of foreign investors. Protests have erupted in the past, with locals fearing displacement and environmental destruction. Did any of these make any effect? Of course, for a while all these concerns led to delays that made some believe the project was dead in the water. But recent developments suggest otherwise. Headlines are buzzing with news that the Nicaraguan government plans to revive the canal project in 2025. After years of uncertainty, it seems this long-discussed competitor to the Panama Canal is back on the table. The question is, will it work this time? And while the idea of a new canal sounds exciting, it's hard to ignore this lingering question of demand. Would global shippers really abandon the tried-and-true Panama Canal for an untested alternative? What do you think? Nicaragua Canal revived plan. Once thought to be a pipe dream, or, more accurately, a waterway dream, the idea of an interoceanic canal slicing through Nicaragua is back in the headlines. And why? Well, let's just say it has a little something to do with Donald Trump, China, and a dash of geopolitical one-upmanship. In true Trumpian fashion, the US president recently floated the idea of taking back the Panama Canal from China. While this statement might have been dismissed by some as yet another bold proclamation, it sent ripples across Central America, and not just in the Panama Canal's locks. Nicaragua, led by its ever-controversial leader Daniel Ortega, saw an opportunity to make waves of its own. If Panama and its canal were about to become a geopolitical tug-of-war between Washington and Beijing, why not throw Nicaragua into the mix? And that's exactly what he did. Ortega's government quickly got to work, tweaking Nicaragua's constitution to allow his regime to grant concessions for an interoceanic canal. No red tape here, just a fast track to big ambitions. Suddenly, the long-dormant Nicaragua Canal project was back on the table, and everyone was paying attention. China, of course, has been eyeing Nicaragua's canal potential for years. Back in the day, a Chinese businessman even secured a concession to build it. But, like many grand plans, it fizzled out. Ortega pulled the plug on that deal in May 2024, leaving everyone wondering if the canal would ever move beyond cocktail party conversation. But now? With Trump's Panama musings threatening to upend the status quo, Beijing might just be ready to rekindle its interest in Nicaragua's watery ambitions. After all, if Washington wants to flex its muscles in Panama, wouldn't China love to counter with its own shiny new canal project just a few hundred miles away? So what exactly will this revived Nicaragua canal look like? Well, Ortega and his team have been busy reimagining the route, and it's mind-blowing. Forget Lake Cocibolca, the largest lake in Nicaragua. The new vision takes us through Lake Zolotlan, located north of Managua. The proposed 445-kilometer route would start at a brand new port in Bluefields on Nicaragua's Caribbean coast. From there, it would snake through Lake Zolotlan before emerging triumphantly at Corinto on the Pacific side. And don't worry about those massive container ships of today, they'll fit just fine. The canal is designed with a depth of 27 meters, enough to handle even the most gargantuan of vessels. Add some impressive locks at both ends and an artificial lake for good measure, and you've got yourself a canal worthy of global attention. But this isn't going to be cheap. Oscar Mujica, Nicaragua's Minister of Transportation, and apparently its Minister of Optimism, estimates the cost at a whopping $64.5 billion. Mujica insists that this formidable investment will pay off handsomely, calling the project both viable and profitable. Bold words for a country whose GDP is less than half that amount. Of course, all this talk of canals begs the question, how did we even get here? Was it really just one offhand Trump comment that sparked this renewed interest in Nicaragua's waterway dreams? Well, yes and no. A canal caught in the crossfire. The rivalry between the Panama Canal and any potential Nicaraguan counterpart isn't exactly new. The idea of building an interoceanic canal through Nicaragua has been floating around since the 19th century. But Panama beat them to the punch with its US-built marvel, leaving Nicaragua's dreams high and dry, well, until now. Trump's comments may have been the catalyst for this latest revival, but let's not forget that geopolitics is rarely about one man's tweets. This is about much bigger forces, China's Belt and Road Initiative, US-China tensions, and Central America's desire to cash in on its strategic location. The Panama Canal has been slicing through the isthmus since 1914. This aquatic shortcut has long been the darling of global trade, ferrying over 1 billion tons of goods annually and saving ships from the awkward tango around Cape Horn. But lately, this marvel has found itself in murky waters, and not just because of rising sea levels. The canal, once a symbol of international cooperation and ingenuity, is now at the center of a geopolitical soap opera featuring China, the United States, Central America, and a cast of diplomatic finger-pointers. On the 30th of January, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio said he had zero doubt that China has a contingency plan to shut down the Panama Canal in the event of a conflict with the United States. Rubio's comments came during an interview on The Megyn Kelly Show, where he channeled his inner Nostradamus to warn about Beijing's growing influence over this strategic waterway. According to him, Washington is gearing up to address what it perceives as a national security threat. But Rubio's remarks were perfectly timed, just days before his maiden voyage to Central America as the US's top diplomat. Coincidence? We think not. The man knows how to set the stage for a dramatic entrance. But in Donald Trump's January 20 inauguration speech, he accused Panama of breaking promises related to the canal's final transfer in 1999. He also claimed that Panama had handed over operational control of the canal to China and went on to vow that the U.S. would take back the canal, though he conveniently glossed over the minor details of when or how. Panama Canal, not for sale. In a world where rumors spread faster than a cargo ship through the Panama Canal, the Panamanian government has found itself fending off some particularly persistent whispers. The latest? That the canal is somehow slipping into the hands of China. Panama has repeatedly denied ceding control of its beloved canal to China or anyone else for that matter. The canal is run by the Panama Canal Authority, also known as ACP, an independent entity that operates under Panamanian jurisdiction. And let's be honest, Panama has every reason to keep its golden goose clucking along smoothly. It's a cornerstone of their economy and national pride. Now, while Panama operates the canal itself, here's where things get a little more globalized. The ports flanking the canal are managed by a variety of players. On one side, there's C.K. Hutchison, a publicly listed company based in Hong Kong. On the other side, ports run by private companies from the United States, Singapore, and Taiwan. So, to recap, the Panama Canal is staying put under Panama's control. The ports? Well, they're a bit of a mixed bag, but that's just globalization doing its thing. And as for China's involvement, yes, Chinese companies have also invested in ports and infrastructure near the canal. But does that mean Beijing is plotting to weaponize it? The Panamanian government would like to remind everyone that correlation does not equal causation. But at its heart, this global drama isn't really about Panama or its canal, it's about the escalating rivalry between China and the United States. The canal just happens to be caught in the crossfire, a 50-mile-long pawn in a global chess game. For China, expanding its influence in Central America is part of its broader Belt and Road Initiative, a sprawling infrastructure project designed to connect Asia with the rest of the world. For the US, any Chinese presence near such a strategic asset is enough to set off alarm bells louder than a ship's foghorn. And so, the Panama Canal finds itself in an awkward position, a vital artery for global trade that's also become a lightning rod for geopolitical paranoia. But beyond the political drama lies another pressing issue. The canal itself is facing serious challenges that could threaten its future relevance. The problem? For centuries, the Panama Canal has been called the shortcut every ship dreams of, saving weeks of travel and avoiding the pirate-infested waters of Cape Horn. But even icons have their limits. Over a century old and expanded in 2016, the canal is now facing a midlife crisis. Megaships that are bigger, bolder, and completely uninterested in squeezing through tiny locks are increasingly giving the Panama Canal a hard pass, opting for other routes that don't require them to suck in their metaphorical stomachs. And if that weren't enough, climate change has decided to add to this logistical nightmare. The canal relies on two freshwater lakes, Gayton and Alajula, to lift ships 26 meters, which is about 85.3 feet above sea level through its locks. Each ship requires a staggering 200 million liters of fresh water to make this vertical journey. However, with rainfall becoming as unreliable as a Wi-Fi connection during a storm, water levels are dropping fast. In 2019, freshwater supplies plummeted to just 3 billion cubic meters, far below the 5,250 million cubic meters needed to keep the canal chugging along smoothly. By 2022 fiscal year, over 14,000 ships carrying 518 million tons of cargo still managed to traverse the canal, contributing a hefty $2.5 billion to Panama's treasury. But how long can this continue? The math isn't looking great, and neither is the water situation. This isn't just Panama's problem. If the canal falters, global trade takes a hit. Shipping companies might start eyeing alternative routes. Worse yet, some might revert to the long and costly trek around South America. Either way, your online shopping habits could get pricier, and nobody wants that. You're probably wondering how Musk fits into this watery drama. Well, let's be honest, when isn't he involved in something outrageous? Elon Musk's intriguing proposition. Elon Musk, the billionaire entrepreneur and part-time internet provocateur, has once again waded into murky geopolitical waters, this time, quite literally. The man behind Tesla, SpaceX, and a Twitter rebrand no one asked for, has shared his thoughts on the current Panama Canal drama. And, as always, the question isn't just what he thinks, it's why he's thinking about it at all. During a fiery speech at AmericaFest in Arizona, Trump accused Panama of overcharging for canal usage and warned of potential Chinese influence in the region. Has anyone ever heard of the Panama Canal? He asked the crowd, as though it were a niche indie band. He followed this up with a post on Truth Social featuring an American flag photoshopped over a waterway with the caption, "Welcome to the United States Canal." Subtle, it was not. Trump also suggested that Panama had violated the moral and legal principles of the 1977 treaties that handed control of the canal back to Panama. Naturally, his comment sparked an international uproar. But amidst all the noise, one cryptic post from Elon Musk managed to steal the spotlight. Shortly after Trump's remarks lit up headlines, Musk took to X, formerly known as Twitter, and posted, "2025 is gonna be so lit." No context. No follow-up. Just a casual MIC drop into the digital abyss. But was he referencing Trump's bold declaration? Predicting a future where SpaceX cargo ships bypass earthly canals entirely? Or simply trolling us all for fun? As CEO of Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, and a growing list of ventures, Musk knows better than most how fragile global supply chains can be. A compromised Panama Canal could send ripples across industries ranging from automotive to tech, potentially affecting Tesla's production lines or even SpaceX's rocket fuel supply chains. So it's no wonder he's keeping an eye on the situation. But here's where things get interesting. Whispers are circulating that Musk might be eyeing an investment. So which side is Musk on? Panama or Nicaragua, or something entirely unexpected remains to be seen. Elon Musk's bold vision. Elon Musk, the enigmatic billionaire who has redefined industries from electric cars to space travel, hasn't exactly dipped his toes into the maritime world, yet. While there's no official word from Musk about transforming global shipping or overhauling iconic waterways like the Panama Canal or its lesser-known cousin, the Nicaraguan Canal, it's not hard to imagine what might happen if he did. After all, this is a man who turned flamethrowers into party favors and made space rockets reusable. Why not revolutionize shipping while he's at it? Musk's ventures, like Tesla and SpaceX, are already reshaping transportation and sustainability. Tesla has made electric cars appealing and fast, while SpaceX has Starlink, a satellite internet service that's already helping ships stay connected in the middle of nowhere. So, while Musk hasn't officially charted a course into maritime waters, his track record screams, why not? Shipping is a massive industry, responsible for moving 90% of global trade, but it's also a notorious environmental offender. Cargo ships burn heavy fuel oil, spewing out more carbon dioxide than some countries. Add to that inefficiencies like port congestion, outdated logistics systems, and fragmented communication networks, and you've got an industry ripe for disruption. But with Musk's trademark bold thinking, this will change. As Musk once said, some people don't like change, but you need to embrace change if the alternative is disaster. And disaster is exactly where shipping is headed if it doesn't clean up its act. So, what could Musk do if he decided to take on the transformation of something as iconic as the Panama Canal or Nicaraguan Canal? The bigger picture. First on Musk's agenda would likely be tackling shipping's carbon footprint. Forget diesel-powered cargo ships puffing out black clouds like chain-smoking dragons. Imagine fleets of zero-emission vessels powered by green hydrogen or advanced electric systems. These ships could charge at renewable energy hubs strategically positioned at ports, think solar farms, wind turbines, or even floating power stations. And knowing Musk, these wouldn't just be efficient, they'd be cool. Picture sleek, futuristic vessels that look like they've sailed straight out of a sci-fi movie. Maybe they'd even have Tesla's autopilot tech built in, because why not? Speaking of autopilot, let's talk about self-navigating ships. Musk could bring Tesla's expertise in AI and real-time data processing to the high seas. These ships wouldn't just follow preset routes like today's vessels, they'd actively adapt to real-world conditions. Port congestion? Reroute. Storm brewing? Avoid it. Pirate-infested waters? Deter or deploy laser cannons? Okay, maybe not. These AI-driven ships would optimize fuel use and reduce human error, making shipping safer and more efficient. And let's be honest, the idea of a ship captained by an algorithm named Captain Neural Net has a certain appeal. One of the biggest headaches in maritime shipping is fragmented communication systems. Ships are often out of range of reliable internet, leading to delays in tracking and information sharing. This is where Starlink, SpaceX's satellite internet service, comes in. With Starlink-equipped ships, real-time global communication would become the norm. Accurate tracking? Check. Precise estimated time of arrivals, also known as ETAs? Double check. Customer transparency? Triple check. And let's not forget the crew, they'd finally get decent Wi-Fi for Netflix binges during downtime. Musk doesn't just think about point A and point B, he obsesses over everything in between. So why stop at transforming ships when you can revolutionize intermodal logistics too? He'd work on high-speed hyperloop systems connecting ports to inland hubs. This way, cargo would be whisked away in low-energy pods at speeds that make today's trains look like snails on vacation. This would slash transportation times and costs while reducing reliance on fossil fuel trucks. Plus, it sounds way cooler than waiting for a container to be unloaded by a creaky crane. If Musk were to take on any of these canals, expect nothing less than a high-tech marvel. AI-powered traffic management systems could optimize ship flow through the canal, reducing wait times and maximizing efficiency. Renewable energy could power canal operations, making it a model of sustainability. And let's not rule out some wild ideas, this is Elon Musk we're talking about. Maybe he'd propose an underground hyperloop alternative to bypass the canal altogether. Or a floating canal that moves with the tides. Or a fleet of autonomous tugboats named after characters from The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. The possibilities are endless. At its core, Musk's potential involvement in maritime innovation wouldn't just be about flashy tech or cool gadgets, though there'd be plenty of those. It would be about rethinking an industry that desperately needs change. Zero-emission ships, AI-driven logistics, and renewable energy hubs aren't just nice-to-haves, they're essential if we want a sustainable future. And let's face it, if anyone can make shipping better and sustainable at the same time, it's Elon Musk. But what's next for the Panama Canal and its long-lost rival? The verdict. News broke recently that construction on the Nicaraguan canal is set to resume. After years of dormancy and skepticism, the ambitious project is apparently back on the table. If completed, the Nicaraguan canal could shake up global trade routes and challenge Panama's monopoly on interoceanic transit. But before we get too excited about this potential canal rivalry, let's talk about the first obstacle, Panama. You didn't think they'd just sit back and let their canal thunder be stolen, did you? The Panama Canal, that legendary shortcut connecting two oceans and saving ships from a long, lonely trip around Cape Horn, is not resting on its laurels. In response to inquiries from La Estrella de Panama, which means the Star of Panama for the non-Spanish speakers, the canal's authorities reaffirmed their commitment to staying at the top of the global maritime game. Their strategy? Offering safe, reliable, and efficient transit services while keeping a sharp eye on any other logistical projects that might try to steal their thunder. But will all this be enough? Let's not forget, they reminded us with just the right amount of humble brag, Panama is the only country where you can hop from the Pacific Ocean to the Atlantic in just 80 kilometers. That's right, no other nation can claim this kind of geographical VIP pass. And Panama has made sure to capitalize on it, boasting not just the canal but also ports on both coasts, a buzzing air hub, an interoceanic railway, top-notch telecommunications, a financial sector with international swagger, and a growing tourism industry. And did we mention the canal connects 180 maritime routes, serves 170 countries, and links up with 1,920 ports worldwide? If the Panama Canal had a LinkedIn profile, it would be flexing all over your feed.